Stay tuned. Ahead, I'll talk with John Kim about Breakup on Purpose, a catalyst for growth. Hi, I'm Dan Skinner, and this is Some Books Considered. John Kim is a therapist who practices complete authenticity and transparency with his many clients. His previous best-selling books include It's Not Me, It's You, and Single on Purpose. He also blogs as The Angry Therapist. He joins us to talk about Breakup on Purpose, a catalyst for growth. John, welcome to Some Books Considered.
Thank you for having me.
Well, John, you begin the book by saying that breakups are actually how we grow. And you begin the book by sharing your own story. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, about 17 years ago, I went through a divorce, and that was the one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, but also the greatest catalyst in my life. Kind of left with nothing but a pillow, and it forced me to build a life, because when I was in the relationship, I didn't have a life. The marriage / her was my life. And so I just started from my relationship with myself, and it took many years, but I also tried to be of service and help others with their breakup. And it was the beginning of, The Angry Therapist, and it was the beginning of everything. And now everything I'm doing wouldn't have happened unless I went through that divorce.
And now we have the book, which you say operates on 3 pistons. Explain to us how the book is organized.
No one talks about the different types of breakups. And I thought, why? Because breakups isn't just the same for every breakup is different. And so I break down the 8 different types of breakups, because depending on what kind of breakup you're going through, what's prescribed is different, right? And so one of the pistons is depending on what type of breakup you go through, what it takes to heal is going to be different, right? So that piston's pumping. And while that piston's pumping, kind of going back and revisiting what happened for the plane to go down, right? Taking ownership. And then the third piston is just your relationship with yourself. It's something that many people skip, and they go and they try to find someone else to love really fast. And I feel like the growth soil calcifies when we do that.
So we don't have time to go through all 8 of them and their prescriptions, but could we go through the 8 and then we'll pick a few just to go back and give your advice about how to deal with those breakups?
Sure, absolutely. We have the big one, and this is the breakup, the relationship when your heart was powdered snow. It's usually our younger years. It's kind of the relationship we compare, all relationships to. And it was because we don't have a lot of experience, and that was like the first big one. And also the big one sometimes is kind of toxic, Then we have the blindsided breakup. This is a breakup you didn't see coming. The flat soda breakup. This is the breakup where the relationship kind of fades and people kind of turn into siblings or roommates. We have the you cheated, left me for someone else breakup. That breakup is all about feeling betrayed, and that can be extremely difficult to work through, lots of anger. The soap opera breakup. This is the I need to get a restraining order, or this is when someone doesn't want to break up, but you do, and you're now kind of concerned about your safety, right? The almost relationship breakup. This is a breaking up of a relationship that could have been but didn't quite happen. And then the breakup that never ends. And this is when people, get back together again, they break up, they get back together again, they break up. And then finally, the D, I call it the D word, but it's divorce. And divorce is more complicated can be more complicated than other breakups, because, you may share property, you may have children, all the different layers that come with the uncoupling.
And the other thing about that last one, the divorce, is it can also be a combination of some of the other breakups you mentioned that lead to the divorce.
Yes, like love languages, you could actually fall into a few of these categories, right? It's not just one.
Pick one to start with. Give us some more detail about that kind of breakup, and then what your advice would be for dealing with that breakup.
Yeah, the one that interesting and I get a lot of questions about is the almost relationship breakup. And people say, well, wouldn't that be easy because it never really turned into a relationship? And I say the intensity of a breakup isn't determined by the length of the relationship. There are some people who have been in a relationship for 10 years, and that expiration, that breakup is easier than someone who met someone, during a magical summer, and they have this fantasy of what that relationship could have been. So it's with the almost relationship breakup, it's the secondary loss, right? It's everything that could have been that is now gone, not just a relationship. And sometimes that's even more crushing.
That is interesting because it becomes part of your fantasy life
Mhm.
and something you just find hard to let go. And
Yeah.
something that you could hang on to for years or maybe even your whole life is that was the one that got away.
Yes, yes, and I think that's dangerous. That whole one that got away, because whoever you are loving, if it's difficult or you guys, have a pattern or lots of ruptures that aren't being repaired, you can start to think like, oh, there's someone else for me, and that person got away, and then you can kind of, work less in the relationship that you're in. I always say the one is the one in front of you. Like no one got away. The one that you're choosing to love is the one.
I'm talking with John Kim about Breakup on Purpose, a catalyst for growth. And our conversation continues in a moment. If you appreciate this discussion, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. And thank you. And another thing you share in your story, which I think makes a lot of sense to discuss, is perception versus reality, or what you dream or the expectations you set up that don't get fulfilled. But on the other hand, if you just let go of that, what you end up with can be much better, just different than what you imagined.
Yeah, I think love distorts our lenses. I think, romance novels and reality, or not reality, romantic comedies and society has turned love into, like a movie trailer instead of a documentary. And we tend to fantasize a lot about what love should look like, instead of being present and starting with truth and what your relationship really is.
What is another type of breakup that you get a lot of questions about?
The flat soda breakup. The flat soda breakup is when chemistry changes, and I think that when chemistry changes, when the relationship dynamic changes, when you start to see your partner like your son or a roommate, it's really hard to go back. You know, um, when there's ruptures and there's conflict, and you have to learn how to communicate. Those are tools that can be learned, like couples therapy, etc. But when people don't have that kind of feeling, when they start to see their partner differently, I feel like the relationship has expired. And for that kind of breakup, it's less angry, more sad. You know, and people are actually kind of relieved, and they feel free because they probably should have broken up years ago or earlier.
As you were describing that, I'm thinking there are some breakups where you say it's going to be difficult and you may just need to break up and that's it. But there are other ones where maybe this relationship could be saved. So
Mhm.
how do you tell the difference between those two?
Yeah, my go-to answer is, if you've done everything you can to repair the relationship, and you of course have to be honest about that, but then you start to find yourself breaking up with yourself, like the relationship and the relationship container is now causing you to break up with yourself, disconnect with you.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the big one, the divorce,
Mm.
because you said that's more complicated because there are legalities involved, there might be children, there's property, etc. So, what's your advice for dealing with that?
The ultimate goal with divorce is a conscious uncoupling. It's two people who have accepted that the marriage is over, and especially if you have children, they want to still, work on their relationship. It just goes from romantic to friendship. A lot of divorces, they end up being very ugly, and they use their children for, as chess pieces, and they're fighting for property, and they're trying to destroy each other's lives. But the goal is to do a conscious uncoupling, to get on the same page, accept that this didn't work out, but now we can start a new relationship as friends, and still, raise our daughter. If you have a business together, whatever it is reestablishing the relationship as something new and allowing the old relationship to die.
Something you brought up a little while ago was the notion that You have to love yourself before you can get into a relationship that's going to work. Because otherwise, you may be the reason that relationship broke up. And if you haven't fixed that, the next relationship isn't going to work either.
Yeah. And, loving yourself is an ongoing process. Of course, it's until we die, right? Our relationship with ourselves fluctuates. But if you don't love yourself, it can be lopsided. I also feel like if you don't love yourself, what are you bringing to the table? You're bringing someone, clingy, needy, you know, instead of someone who has a full sense of self.
One of the aspects of a breakup is that it's a loss. You've lost that relationship. You've lost whatever was good about that relationship before it went bad. And what are your thoughts about just sort of dealing with that loss in a person's life?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to go through all the feelings, right? So, like any loss, there's going to be a grieving, you know. Um, but I feel like, even with my life right now, currently, since I lost my home, I'm in a way, because every breakup is about rebuilding your life again. And it's funny that this book comes out, and here I am, rebuilding my life again. And it may not be about a relationship, but just my life in general. But there's a lot of parallels. There's grieving. There's getting out of your head and out of your house. Not isolating. It's feeling alone. It's feeling lost. It's falling into what I call a slippery well, distorted thinking, all of that. And so, getting out of your house, surrounding yourself with people, and start building a new life. One step at a time.
What are some of the key concepts that sort of is overarching in this book that you hope readers are going to take away?
One, that we're all going to go through a breakup, right? It's just life. It's a rite of passage. If you love someone, the ante to sit at that table is possible heartbreak. But also that your breakup can be a breakthrough. It can be the first domino in your growth and evolution. So the theme of the book is turning your breakup into a catalyst for growth. And I think that the growth soil is the richest after an expired relationship, So it's taking advantage of that time.
To learn more, the book is Breakup on Purpose, A Catalyst for Growth by John Kim. John, thank you for talking with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
If you would like to purchase Breakup on Purpose, I've placed a link for you in the description below. If you appreciate this conversation, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. Meanwhile, here are 2 more books you might find interesting. I'm Dan Skinner. Thank you for watching this edition of Some Books Considered.